Donald Trump has just been quickly outmaneuvered as his indictment scheme crumbles against Congress member Eric Swalwell, who's now running for governor of California. But not just Swalwell. I think other people are seeing the template as the New York Attorney General Letitia James indictment has now been dismissed by the judge, as has the James Comey. But specifically focusing in on New York Attorney General Letitia James, this is part of the scheme whereby Donald Trump works with the Fair Housing Department stooge that he's brought in, this guy named Bill Pulte, to try to invade the privacy rights of Trump's political enemies and then gin up cases against them, saying that in the minutia of their mortgage documents that they've made minor misrepresentations that are never federally prosecuted before, if they are even crimes to begin with, or even if they are, but just try to make something up about their mortgages, and then bring federal criminal cases against Trump's political enemies. By the way, notwithstanding the fact that we've done this analysis, that there are so many Trump cabinet members and Republicans with multiple homes who list their second home as a second home, but potentially rent it out or bring in a guest or sublet it or whatever. But now they're going against Trump's political enemies and saying that this is federal criminal conduct. It should be noted, though, that even within the Fair Housing Department, as it relates to New York Attorney General Letitia James, there's all these internal memos there saying no crime was committed. She didn't do anything wrong. We're being told to do things that are illegal and invade her privacy. So now that Eric Swalwell, Congressmember Swalwell, sees that Trump and Pulte are trying to do this to him, of course, now he's running for governor, he now has a template for how to respond. And we, of course, know Congressmember Swalwell is very aggressive. So what he's done is say, I'm not going to just sit back and let them, run roughshod over me and do what they did to others. He goes, I'm going to go on the offense. I'm going to sue, because we also know that the Fair Housing Department that Pulte has appointed himself to lead, essentially, well, he's appointed there, but Fannie and Freddie, he's appointed himself as the leaders there. He's fired all the people on the board. He's removed any independence from it, and he's likely unlawfully taking their documents and invading, again, the privacy of Trump's political opponents. But he's also very politically vulnerable. Pulte people despise this guy. And so Swalwell's like, I'm going to go on the offense. So Swalwell files a freaking lawsuit against Bill Pulte and the Fair Housing Finance Agency. And his lawsuit says, look, since taking office, Trump has engaged in this unprecedented effort to leverage the power of the federal government to go after his enemies. Defendant Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, has played a central role in this. He's abused his position by scouring databases at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, two government-sponsored enterprises, for the private mortgage records of several prominent Democrats. He then uses those records to concoct fanciful allegations of mortgage fraud, which he then refers to the DOJ. The target now is Swalwell, but prior targets were New York Attorney General Letitia James. It talks about how Trump has been attacking Swalwell and how Trump is terrified of Swalwell. And Swalwell points out the allegation in Pulte's referral against Swalwell are patently false. Swalwell explicitly disclaimed any intent to occupy a District of Columbia home as his primary residence in a sworn affidavit attached to his mortgage agreement. The affidavit made clear that the home would be his wife's primary residence, not his own. Representative Swalwell was and remains a permanent resident in California. But by the way, can't you see how these issues get a little bit difficult where somebody is a Congress member and they have to live kind of in two places by the very nature of it. And that's why they're going after people who politically have to be in multiple places at the same time. But what he points out here, Swalwell, is that the referral violates the Privacy Act of 1974 and it violates the First Amendment of the Constitution. In targeting Swalwell for criminal prosecution based solely on his protected political speech, Pulte and his co-defendants breached the First Amendment bedrock prohibition on viewpoint retaliation, and then the Privacy Act of 1974, which was designed to bar federal officials from leveraging their access to citizens' private information as a tool for harming their political opponents. And this act explicitly forbids federal agencies from disclosing or even transmitting to other agencies sensitive information about any individual for any purpose not explicitly authorized by law. And the disclosure of Swalwell's mortgage documents flouted these basic prohibitions. You go through the lawsuit, and ultimately what Swalwell's asking for is declaratory relief holding the defendant's actions violated the Privacy Act, the Administrative Procedures Act, and the First Amendment. He wants statutory and compensatory damages stemming from defendants' violations of the Privacy Act, injunctive relief directing Pulte and the FHFA to withdraw the criminal referral, and attorney's fees. So here to break it down, I want to bring in Harry Lippman from the Talking Feds YouTube and the Talking Feds Substack and podcast. Harry, great to see you here. One of the things I love about the law is how tactics and approaches evolve based on circumstances on the ground. This may have been something that Letitia James would have availed herself to, but now that people like Swalwell see what's going on, they're now going on the offense and bring the fight to Trump versus sitting back and just seeing what Trump or Lindsey Halligan or one of these clown show fascists are doing. What do you make of it, Harry?
As this guy, Pulte, really is a clown show fascist like no other. So he gets put atop, he is a total stooge, as you say, he gets put atop this supposed regulatory agency to see how the banks are doing, and his only task is to forage unlawfully in the files for Democrats only. I mean, think about the searches he spends his days doing. They are all of prominent Democrats, unconstitutional for starters. We'll return to that in a moment. And dredges up these things, as you say, very weak claims, but leaving that aside, then he makes referrals, criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, and they have the patina of some kind of legitimate law enforcement investigation ginned up that is just transparent political hatchet job. That's all this guy does. He's an absolute fascist, as you say. You know, that this is stuff that happens in totalitarian countries. That's first of all who he obviously is, and we've learned that there have been whistleblower complaints that suggest he's doing things. These are documents. You've done documents like this, and mortgage documents and bank documents where confidentiality is guaranteed, and they need to be, and that's the call that Congress has made. Okay, things have to be seen and regulated. And if there's a crime like structuring some access by bona fide law enforcement, otherwise, this isn't the kind of thing that anyone, not to mention somebody in government who hates you, can just ransack. So that's for starters. Second point, though, is Swalwell, because you're totally right. He's taken the page, I think, from the Trump book better than anyone. Remember, he's already a plaintiff in a January 6th lawsuit that is still pending. Man, you put this stuff into action, Trump, and I sustained some injuries along with so many of my colleagues when the goons came ransacking the chambers. And he's doing the same thing here. He is very adroitly, and he's a former prosecutor and a good one. He's very adroitly using the law. You know, you could say this isn't the first thing the law is for, and it's true, but fighting fire with fire, when you have a lawsuit like this, you have the potential of Pulte having to undertake a deposition and fess up to the, at best, politically inappropriate and at worst flat out illegal stuff that he's done, and you put the pressure on both as in a public coverage kind of way, but also legal way, declaratory judgment. He's not going for money. Same thing in the January 6th case. He's using the law to turn up the heat on Trump and the administration, and he's doing it wisely, and it's only a small version of what they do, but it's a tit for tat. Now, third, the law. Look, First, the Privacy Act does have criminal provisions. You do it intentionally. You go where you're not allowed to be, and you can be subject to a crime. Now, in Pam Bondi's Department of Justice, will Pulte be indicted for? I don't think so, but it doesn't matter if it's dredged up and exposed, and the spotlight is shined on this completely corrupt actor. First Amendment, I think that's a valid claim, and I'm really going to look forward to any discovery he can get on it, because I think it's just manifest. This guy comes in, and everything he's doing is done for improper partisan purposes. It's a little bit like the reprisal prosecution motions to dismiss that Comey and James have filed. Even if it were legit that there were a crime here, and there isn't, and Swalwell has, is one of it's one of the most far-fetched ones. You can't do it based on political viewpoint. Government may not act based on political viewpoint. It's about as cardinal and axiomatic principle as we have. And it is what Pulte is doing. So, they'll fight here and there, try for immunity. None of that matters. What matters is as the spotlight on the rank corruption and commandeering of law enforcement mechanisms just to serve Trump's political process and, make libs, stick it to the libs, as it were. And I think Swalwell is a really clever counterpuncher here.
Agree, Harry Litman. We'll keep everybody posted on that. I like seeing people go on the offense the way I like to see California Governor Gavin Newsom go on the offense, whether it's with Prop 50 or suing Fox, whatever it takes, right? I mean, this is the world that we're living in right now, and it requires fighters. And in terms of seeing Swalwell fight here, I think that's what people in California want to see. But that's just me. Anybody?
There are two of us in California. There you go. I hear there's a gubernatorial election coming up. We are nonpartisan, of course, but there you have it.
Hearing that also, everybody, make sure you subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel, Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds Podcast. Check it out. Thanks, Harry.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you, Ben.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.